Okay, thanks, Kristen. Welcome, council, staff, and residents to the regular meeting of Marmor Lake Council for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025, and we are being streamed live. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:32 with the land acknowledgement. We are meeting today on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge our shared obligation to respect, honor, and sustain these lands and the natural resources contained within. We honor their cultures and celebrate their commitment to this land. We would also like to acknowledge the Mohawk and Algonquin nations, whose traditional and unceded territory we are gathered upon today. Hastings County is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. First order on the agenda is a recommendation that the agenda for the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Marmor Lake for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025 be approved as presented. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Eric and Ron. Any discussion on that agenda? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Being none. Next on the agenda is the mayor's report. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to say that our CAO is on vacation, and sitting in his place is our treasurer, Nancy Sinclair, as acting CAO. So welcome, Nancy. Next is the mayor's report for October 21st, 2025. October the 7th, I presided over the regular Marmor Lake Council meeting. October the 8th, CAO John and I met with the new owner of the motel on Highway 7. He provided us with a tour of the existing structure, explained his renovation plans and future business to include living quarters and expand the number of units. October the 10th, Councillor Eric and I met virtually with John, our consultant for when we hired the CAO, to discuss the format for the one-year performance evaluation of the CAO. October the 14th, the Economic Development Advisory Committee, Chair Eric, Councillor Daou, CAO John Conley, Clerk Kristen McConnell, members Oliver Hubeck, Ann McNeil, and Megan Abraham, Executive Director for the CFDC, Mary Lynn Rutledge, and CFDC Office Administrator, Melanie Wright, and graphic designer Siobhan Sigwan attended the unveiling of the information sign at the Marmerton Mine. The pictures were replaced and the new history put on the new pictures. The sign frame was repaired and painted. There's QR code that can be copied that provides tourist and business information in the community. Funding was provided from the Community Futures Grant in Marmor and Lake. This is a primary tourist location in the municipality. Thank you to the ECDEV committee for their inspiration to make these improvements. And thank you to all who attended in recognition of this event and their contribution to make this location attractive to the public. So thank you, Eric, with you and your team. October the 15th, I attended the Southeast Health Unit Finance Committee meeting in Kingston. October the 16th, I attended a meeting of the Central Hastings Transit Committee. A new pilot project is being initiated to provide transit from Bancroft to Central Hastings to Belleville one Friday per month. This is a 3-month pilot project to collect data on the demand for this service. This is in addition to the services that they already provide. I met with Councillor Eric to review the template for the Personnel Committee annual performance review of the CAO. That day, on October 17th, I attended the 4th Annual Awards of Business Excellence ceremony sponsored by the North and Hastings Chamber of Commerce in Madoc Township. A number of businesses in Marmor received awards, and there were a number of Marmor businesses nominated in various categories. So I'm only going to mention the ones that apply to us, except for the Business of the Year Award. And that was, or Business Person of the Year Award was to Tyler McMurran Law and Creed. But the Marmor nominee was Deborah Horwath from the High Spring Trading Post. Business of the Year Award went to Actinolite Graphics and Painting, Printing at El Dorado. The Marmor nominees for that were the High Spring Trading Post, Downsizing in the Bay of Quinte, and Money Solutions from Marmor. The not-for-profit of the year award was the Anchor of Hope in Madoc, but nominee from Marmor was the Innovation of the Year award, Ziva Arts Marmor. Entrepreneur of the Year award, Selena Barron, Surprisingly Simple Seniors Help. And the Marmor nominee was High Spring Trading Post. Young Entrepreneurs and Professional Award was Ziva Arts was nominated. People's Choice Awards for the retail nominated was Ziva Arts. Hospitality was Iron Rooster. Nominated for that category was Limestone Inn, Fields Pizza, and Miners Restaurant. And who won that was for the trades was Fudge Forte Contracting. So congratulations to the Marmor Lake Award winners and nominees. Marmor was well represented in the business categories. Sherry Pierce, Executive Director of the Central and North Hastings Chamber, was awarded a prestigious award of excellence from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of Marmor Lake Council, we congratulate her. On November 21st, today, the Personnel Committee met virtually with our consultant with, I call him John Waterhouse because I honestly can never say his name right. And tonight is the regular meeting of Marmor and Lake Council. So next, we have delegations. Richard Spidinga and Baker Tilly, the 2024 Consolidated Financial Statements Audit. Welcome, Richard.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here to present the results of both the audit and the financial results for the municipality for the year ended December 31st, 2024. Now, there are a number of documents within the agenda. Fortunately, I will not be going through all of them. So what I will be going through is the presentation that you see on the screen here is simplifies things and most people understand these the comparative analysis a little more easier than the detailed financial statements. So so within your draft audited financial statements is first it starts off with the management report, and then that is consistent with the prior year, and it highlights management's responsibilities for the financial statement. And then next is the independent auditor's report, and that is a 2-page report that is consistent with the prior year. So we've just pulled out the second paragraph, which is what we consider to be the important paragraph, that in our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the municipality of Marmor and Lake at December 31st, 2024, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So that is your standard clean unqualified auditor's report. A couple of things to point out when we say consolidated, the numbers we look at will include both the operations of the municipality itself and the library board. Within the detailed financial statements, there are separate financial statements for the library board, but this presentation just combines them both. And as well, too, the Canadian Public Sector Accounting Standards are more commonly known as PSAB, which is the way you are obligated to report under the Municipal Act, which is then different than how you budget. So I'll try to show the differences as we go through. The next slide gives you an idea of some of the audit procedures we conduct to gather the information and the evidence to base our audit opinion on. And you can see there, of course, we review council minutes, look at the testing of the amounts that are reported in your general ledger and the records of the municipality. And then as well, too, we also look at your systems of documentation, and And we look at how things flow into the municipality, your revenues, how they go out being your payroll and your disbursements, and then how you adjust things by way of journal entry. And then next, the audit is complete pending some return of some signed documents, both internally as well from your lawyers, and as well council approval of the financial statements. Overall this year, there were no difficulties encountered during the audit process or disagreements or difficulties with management, no changes to our initial audit plan, and excellent cooperation from your staff and management. And this year there were a few changes to the PSAB standards, but none of those impacted the municipality itself. The biggest one for municipalities is in relation to the recording of building permit revenue, but since all your revenues go through the BSIB, they're not reported here, so that's something fortunately you did not have to do this year, so that was good. And then as well too, and you may recall last year it was the implementation of the asset retirement obligation. So we will see looking through some of the numbers, you'll notice a large asset retirement obligation is there, consistent with the prior year. And then finally, there were no unadjusted differences, so anything that was found, they were adjusted. So now we finally get to look at some numbers. So within PSAB, we take a look at financial assets, and these are assets that are either cash or will be turned into cash. And you can see there the 5-year trend numerically is presented, and then on the far right is just the trend on a bar graph. You can see over the last 5 years for each line item. And what you will see in 2024 versus 2023, there was a nice increase in your cash balance, and that's reflective of the fact that you were able to increase your reserves during the year, and as well with some borrowings and approved debt, you were able to clear off about an $800,000 unfinanced capital outlay at the end of the last year. So those two numbers combined created about a $1.9 million increase in your cash. Your accounts receivable, that represents monies owed to the municipality. The largest component of that is your HST receivable, and that was the main item that dropped from year to year. And the prior year, you had some more HST outstanding, and with some capital projects that were there last year that weren't there this year, that receivable was down, and is so that is the largest component of about $550,000 of that total, and then amounts owed to the municipality for water and sewer receivables was about $233,000, and then some regular other AR making up the difference. Next, we come to the taxes receivable. So those are the amounts that is owed to the municipality by ratepayers. So the number you see there, it's nice to see that there was just a slight increase year over year. A lot of the other municipalities we've been dealing with this year, there was a significant increase in the receivables. So that was nice to see that it was only a small dollar increase. And as a percentage of the total levy, actually, the percentage went down to about 8.5%, down from about 9.4%. So that's really good to see. And you're still well below the 10% low risk range that the ministry sets. So you're doing well there. So that was really good to see that there was a percentage decrease there. So, and the other thing to keep in mind as well, that represents the entire tax bill. So because you still pay the county and the school board each quarter, regardless of whether the ratepayer has paid you. So it's always good to stay on top of that. So that with both increases at the county and the municipal level, it was good to see the percentage actually come down. So good work for your staff on that one. On the following slide, you will see there your financial liabilities. So then these are the monies you owe to others at some point. Some of them, the long-term frame in relation to the asset retirement obligations. Could be fairly lengthy time when you will have to pay that, but first overall, you have your standard accounts payable and accrued liabilities. At the end of 2023, there were some larger capital items and holdback items for capital projects then that weren't there in 2024. But that was offset by some monies owed back to the courts for some tax sales that you had in 2024. Your deferred revenue for your obligatory reserve fund. So these are monies that you've received for the Canada Community Building Fund and parkland fees. So you've gotten the cash, you just can't spend it and recognize it as revenue until you spend it in accordance with those agreements. So until you do that, it sits here on as a deferred revenue. So and you were able to use about 220,000 decrease, causing your community building fund or your gas tax money to decrease at the end of the year to about 555,000, and then about 37,000 remaining in the parkland. Your other deferred revenue just represents some funding you received for enforcement on cannabis for the $10,000. And then your long-term debt, you will see there that it's up to $4.4 million, up from about 2.4 at the end of last year. During the year, you did approve and receive 3 loans, one for the compactor, and then one for the plow trucks, and then the one near the end of the year in relation to the work you did with the county for the Crow Bridge. So all of those 3 items amounted to almost the 2.4 million or 2,349,000. And then during the year, you paid down 315,000. So that explains the increase in your long-term debt. But then, of course, on the other side, you added capital that needed to be replaced. And then the final item, you will see the asset retirement obligation, and that was the change in the 2023 amount. And you can see there for the most part, there was just a slight increase for some growth in the liability for the landfill. And that $2.9 million in asset retirement obligation is broken down for the landfill of about 238,000. You have some closed gravel pits for about almost $1.4 million in that total that you may have to do some work to return that to its original condition. And then as well too, you have some asbestos in various locations throughout the municipality, also about $1.361 million. So giving you a total of about a little over $10 million in total liabilities. And the following slide gives you a 5-year trend on your net financial assets, and you can see there with the implementation of the asset retirement obligations in 2023. You can see there that the blue line for the last 2 years has been below the break-even point, which means you've over the years you've invested in capital that is still being paid off with long-term debt. And then you will see that some of that in the next slide. Your non-financial assets, so these are assets that you have that you do not try to turn into cash. And you can see there the larger increase this year in your tangible capital assets. And keep in mind that number is the estimated original cost of those assets less any depreciation. There is no correlation between that number and the replacement costs. So, and then as well too, you have your prepaid expenses, which is mostly insurance. So you had about a little over $31 million in non-financial assets. Next, we take a look at your actual additions to your capital assets. They were about $2.8 million. And you can see there that more than half of that is in relation to roads and bridges. That includes the work done to the Crow Bridge, where you borrowed some money for. In addition, as well, you did work on Skeen Road and Center Line Road. So those were the major components of those 3 projects in the roads and bridges line. And just to be clear, that this is work that you're you're doing to replace and improve the assets. You're not adding any roads to the system. And as well too, within the vehicles, you added 2 plow trucks for almost $800,000 of that total. And then as well too, you did some parking lot improvements for both here and at the arena, which is showing in land improvements. And then as well too, you did some water main work in relation for the Crow River as well. So that was the addition in the water and sewer line. Then the following slide gives you an idea of your capital that you've added this year in comparison to the amortization. So as you're discovering, a lot of your assets now need replacements. So it's the time where you need to be investing in those capital items, which is what you've done in the last 3 years. So hopefully you're able to continue that trend. Next, you'll see what I consider to be the most important slide out of the whole deck is taking a look at your accumulated surplus. So on the statement of financial position, it shows that you have about $28 million in accumulated surplus. But if you recall correctly, you had slightly over $5 million in the bank. And the difference is the fact that most of your accumulated surplus, $23.6 million is tied up in your capital assets. So that top line number that you're invested in capital assets is the net book value of your assets, less any unfinanced capital outlay and long-term debt associated with those assets and asset retirement obligations. And as well too, you will see there, the library was able to increase their accumulated surplus by about $8,000 year over year. And then we come to what's left over, which is the reserve and the reserve funds. And you can see there that this year that amounts to about $4.3 million of your $28 million in total accumulated surplus. And that amount did increase year over year, a little over $1 million. But the one thing to keep in mind too, though, that of that you're invested in capital assets, the very top line, as I said earlier, that's based on historical costs, not the replacement costs. So as you're finding out, it is a little more pricey to replace the assets than what you have them on the books for. So just keep that in mind. Next, we come to the consolidated statement of operations. So this then shows you the differences between how you budget and the PSAB numbers. Because of course you can't budget for a surplus when you set your tax rates. So in the first column under PSAB, you're budgeting showing a $500,000 surplus, but then when you take out the effects of capital assets and amortization and reserves and principal repayments, you can see there that everything does come back to zero as it should, and it does too as well for the actuals in 2024 and 2023, and the fact that any surplus does get moved into reserves. So it's those are the main differences you can see there between how you normally budget for tax rate versus PSAB. Overall, the next slide gives you a quick idea of the fact that your revenues over the last 5 years are higher than your expenses. And keep in mind that as you're adding capital and you're getting grants and using gas tax, you should always be generating a surplus. And then in years where you don't have funding and not replacing capital, and when the amortization hits, it should flip back the other way. So since you're in the time now where you're needing to replace your capital, then yeah, an annual PSAB surplus is definitely what you want to see, so you can pay for that amortization later on. And then the next slide gives you an idea of your revenues for the year. You're coming in slightly over budget, which was kind of nice to see on the revenue side of things. And of course, portion of that does relate to the fact that your investment income was higher than budgeted and still even a little higher than the prior year. And as well too, with some supplementaries and things such as that within the property taxation line, you were able to have an amount higher than budget as well. So And as well, user charges. They reflect monies you collect from the ratepayers for use of services. So the biggest component there is your water and sewer of that within that line item, and that's almost $1.3 million. And as well, some certain things with the operations of the arena coming in lower due to the conditions there. That's why your revenues were coming in under budget. Overall, there were some lower line items. Let's say the Government of Canada, you didn't quite receive all the Canada summer jobs you were hoping for. The provincial line represents mainly the OMPF funding, as well as your OCIF funding for about $206,000 that you used for your Center Line Road. And then as well too, your Canada Community Building Fund, you used that $523,000 for the work done on Skene Road and the Center Line Road as well. And then when we go to the following page on the expense side of things, you were under budget there, so that was good to see. You had some general savings in a number of areas, causing some reductions in comparison to budget. So that was good to see that you were a little lower there operationally. And then on the following slide, you'll just see an idea as the type of expenses versus almost the department of the expenses that we saw on the previous page. And you can see there that due to the timing of acquiring some debt, your interest charges were lower than budgeted. And your contracted services, one of the largest components within there is your OPP contract, and as well external transfers relates to monies you've transferred to other agencies such as the conservation authorities and the transit committee, making up the largest component of that number. And as well to your amortization was a little higher, just with new assets coming on, that the amortization was higher than the previous year. And then as well too, you had a small gain on the sale of some assets. So in total, though, you still your expenses came in at almost $10.4 million. So and that is a summary of the audited financial statements. Not sure if there were any questions or.
Thanks, Richard, very much. And thank you to Nancy and your team and the management team for good work in managing our budgets. Thank you. Any questions for Richard? Mike, go ahead.
I just got a comment from reading Richard's report. Everything went well. We had great staff. We had great cooperation. There was no anomalies in the whole report from reading his letters, which are a lot of reading there, Richard. Anyways, so I think we came through pretty good, and we're doing better than we have in the past. And it's great. So Richard, if you can keep us on this track, that would be great. And I don't know if we should congratulate you, but I think we should congratulate staff. You're just doing the reporting. Yeah. But I think it was a really good report. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Richard? Being none, thank you very much, Richard. Right. Did you put your hand up there? No? Thank you very much. And again, thank you for working with our staff, and we're pleased with the report. And like I say, I think that our management team has done a great job in keeping our budgets in line. And anyway, thank you to staff, and thank you to you, Richard. Thank you.
All right. Yes, thank you. And yeah, your staff did a great job. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. That's nice to hear. Eric? Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to put a motion on the floor as required. The motion is that council approve the 2024 municipal audit and financial statements as presented by Baker Tilly on October 21st, 2025. And further, that council authorize Mayor O'Neill and Deputy Mayor Stevens to sign the acknowledgement of council page in the provided audit letter.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that? Ron? Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Eric. Next on the agenda is public input. There's 3-minute maximum. Public input is time set aside on each agenda of each regular meeting to permit anyone in attendance to speak on any issue in this agenda. Public input will be received by council only. Comments or clarification by the public or councilors are permitted. Speakers may not speak disrespectfully of any council member, staff member, or any other person and must not use offensive words or gestures. Is there anyone? John? Can you please provide the clerk with your information and take a seat there, please? And please state which item on the agenda that you're speaking to.
Oh, I'm just speaking about something. I don't think it's on the agenda. It's the Airbnb.
Then you can't speak.
It's the Airbnbs that I,
Can't, sorry,
an
it's
issue.
not on the agenda.
okay, when would that be, coming during the budget?
Well, there's two things you can do. You can arrange to come as a delegation by contacting the clerk the Wednesday prior to the meeting and register as a delegation.
Okay,
That's one way, or if there was something on the agenda that was to deal with that topic.
yeah, no, that's, like, I thought you could speak on any,
No, it has to be on the agenda.
okay. So it might be, being sometime it might come up like during the petition or something like that.
Yeah, it could, but your better option, I would think, would be to make a delegation and register through the clerk, and then you have 3 minutes to, you have 15 minutes then to speak on it because you're a delegation.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm somewhat familiar with council rules, but
Yes,
I thought that you could just come here and speak on any
Yeah.
item that,
you know,
okay. Have a good evening.
thank you. Next on the agenda is the adoption of the council meeting minutes. That the foregoing minutes of the regular meeting of the council of the municipality of Marmor Lake held Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Eric, Mike, any comments on those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. Staff reports, their quarterly reports for the third quarter of 2025. There's the administration report, the bylaw report, environmental report, fire report, parks and recreation and facilities report, transportation report, and the treasurer's report. So I'll get a motion to put them on the floor, that the staff reports for the third quarter of 2025 be received for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Mike and Eric? Okay, anyone wishing to pull out one of these reports or speak to them or have questions? All of the management staff is here if anybody has any questions on their reports. And welcome to the staff and thank you for being here. Does anyone have any questions on any of the quarterly reports? Eric?
Just a couple quick comments, under environmental services, the track loader that arrived in September. I'm glad to see that getting put to use right away. The landfill facility looks a lot better now that we have the proper equipment to move material around. So it's good to see that getting put to good use. Under the Parks and Recreation, it's amazing to see all the small things that really make a big difference. A lot of painting that's happening around the municipality, small things that just make a big difference in the look. So thanks to that team for all that work. And then just a question through the chair for Dylan on the transportation report. September 27th, the sign inspection commenced. Do you have a timeline on when that road sign inspection report will be ready for council?
Through your chair to Councilor Douse, no, I have not got the final report yet. Hopefully within the next few weeks. Usually takes up to a month. It's a lot of data.
Okay, thank you. And then through the chair, to Jeff, the roof for the Parks and Rec building, can you give us an update on the status of that project?
Through the chair to Councillor Dios. I touched base with the roofing contractors yesterday. I'm just waiting on an update on when they will be returning to complete the metal flashing. Otherwise, we will be all set on the roof replacement and currently working on finalizing quotes for mold remediation and water damage to tackle the interior of the building.
Now that the roof is done and some of the interior panels have came down, I know you haven't really got into it, but can you give any feedback on what got uncovered?
As far as what was uncovered by staff and contractors in our initial assessment of the building, I believe the damage that needs to be remediated is minimal compared to what we first had assessed, and that these damages should be able to be covered with the funding for the Parks and Rec roof replacement and the other factors we were looking to get fixed. I think we can cover all that within the calendar year.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other questions or comments? Mike?
Just a comment about our bylaw officer, Rick Deering. He's had 259 complaints so far, or for 2025. And from what I can tell from his report, there's only 7 of them that are still outstanding. So I think we got to give Rick some congratulations if I'm reading that's correct, because that's a lot of resolving there. I see Kayla on her report, she's on track. Everything seems to be going well, which is good. Glad to see that. I touched base with Jeff today. Again, same as Eric. I think you guys are doing a great job down there. And I had just one question for Nancy. Adjustment on that asset retirement obligation. I'm totally confused on it. Can you tell me what that is, Nancy, or is that something that has a big long explanation?
It was a requirement that came in at the end of 2023. It has to do with our buildings and any it has to do with, what is it in the field? Asbestos. Sorry, I couldn't think of that word. Yeah, it has to do with the asbestos in the building. And if we have to replace all that and remediate it, it also has to do with like any of our pipes and stuff, because a lot of them have asbestos in it. So it's the obligation, the financial obligation we have to replace all that. And that was a new requirement from the government.
Thank you.
Oh, is that it? Mike, you,
Yep, I think so. It's just a lot of money, and it's just money going to fix up things as we go forward. I think part of our in that too is part of our gravel pits that need to be remediated going forward.
Yes, I think that's it as well. So it's
Yeah.
just estimate of what it would cost for us to remediate all of the asbestos and in the municipality as well as the gravel pits, if we were to do it.
Well, I think in most cases they suggest you just leave asbestos where it is and encapsulate it. You don't remove it. But anyways, okay, thanks, Nancy.
You're welcome.
okay, thanks. And I just wanted to ask
Oh,
Dylan,
one.
if you don't mind, Dylan, our capital projects, they're complete now for this year?
If that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So any further comments or questions? Being none, all in favor? Mike, did I see your hand? Okay, thank you. That's carried. Next is the report, Dylan Adams for the 2023 road needs study. And the recommendation is the council accept the 2023 road needs study report dated October 21st, 2025, And further, that council received the 2023 road need study for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Ron? And second, Eric? I'm just going to ask Dylan if he can just give us a bit of an explanation of the road need study report.
So the roads need study, the intention and the purpose of this document is completed by a engineering firm. We go out for quotations. It's completed every 5 years. Depending on the timeline when they get started and scope of work, any changes, for example, with this one being dated 2023, the engineering firm got a late start. There were several issues with relation to the previous roads need study, updates, changes, just a lot of work involved. So that's the reason for the delay. But essentially the whole purpose of the roads need study, it bases information based on PCIs, a whole other bunch of factors on what we should be looking at doing for road completions. They propose ideas such as tackling roads based on worst case scenarios. So on page 20 to 21, for example, of the roads and study, it outlines our forecasted roads being from worst to essentially the top 20 worst roads based on our PCRs. And that's essentially what feeds into our budget. Now, keep in mind, there was some information that didn't get included in this that we had just redone. So our actual PCI number has actually gone up, which is great. We've done a very good job the last 5 years since the 2018 study, getting us from a PCI of approximately 50 to now we're up almost at 70. So we are on track. And it also gives us some budget numbers to compare if we were to hire everything out, opposed to if we can do more stuff in-house, also saving us money and getting more projects done. And it just keeps our roads in a state of repair. And we have a document for funding and everything is followed.
Thank you, Dylan. Any questions for Dylan on the road needs study? Mike?
No, I just got some comments. Thanks for getting the road done up and on Jennison. It's got a lot of good comments on that, Dylan. I tried to get my hand up previously, but I couldn't get through. And it's nice to see the road needs study showing we have an improvement there. Dylan, can you also tell us when it says X number of kilometers of roads in the municipality, is that lane miles or is that actual miles? And how do we compare to other municipalities in the area? I think we have way more roads than most municipalities. Is that true?
Through your chair to council. And so that road length is just total, so not lane, so double that for lane quality.
Double that. Okay.
And
Sorry, go
neighboring,
ahead.
we're approximately the third, I think, for lengths.
Okay.
That answer your question, Mike?
Yeah. So that's actual kilometers of roads in the municipality. And like I said, I didn't quite hear the last one. How are we compared to other municipalities as far as the number of kilometers of roads in the municipality?
I think we are third. I think Tweed is first, Sterling, then us, if I'm not.
Okay.
I don't know for exact, but it's approximately that.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions? Go ahead, Eric.
Just a comment. The report said several times here references $44 million over the next 10 years to maintain a PCI of 65. That's a really scary number when we consider that doesn't include bridges or sidewalks in that as well. And as indicated here, that equals $4.42 million a year, which is just impossible for us here. So I guess that leads to the question, in terms of preventative maintenance and routine maintenance, Dylan, can you speak to things that we do to maximize what we have and protect the condition?
Through your chair to Councilor Dowse. So that's correct. So in order to even come close to that, we have to try to our best to maintain everything as possible. That includes patching, grading, any kind of preventative if we can do a single surface. Keep in mind too, those numbers are based on purely contracted out inflated numbers. We can minimize that by doing more works in-house, seeking alternative methods, best practices. So even if you look through, you'll see certain numbers, for example, Centerline Road reconstruction, the project we just did this summer. I think if I remember right, their value is well over $1 million. We did it for 300,000. So by trying to do as much in-house as we can, we are breaking that number down. That's how we are staying ahead of it, as well as looking forward or looking at the future of what we can reduce or change if possible. Some roads may not need to be hard top. We could go back to gravel. There's always something we can potentially do.
Go ahead, Eric.
And then for the upcoming budget roads that you're going to bring forward, you'll use this document, road classification and traffic studies to make that decision on what you're going to bring forward for 2026.
That is correct. So outlined on page 20 and 21, it shows our top 20 worst roads. We'll be basing it on those. There are some constraints as some of those roads are boundary roads, as well as anything that may change from now till then, or if we have an operational issue. But that's a good starting point. It's that.
Thanks, Dylan. Anything further? So I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Dylan, very much for your explanation and for, I'm sure you have a great deal of input into getting this document done, and it's a good guide for us going forward for budgets. So thank you. Next is report regarding the Shannick Bridge structural assessment. And the recommendation is the council accept the Shannick Bridge structural assessment report dated October 21st, 2025. And further that the amended bridge load limit bylaw 2025-58, which updates Shannick's Bridge's vehicle load limit from 16 tons to a triple weight posting for 3 different vehicle types, in brackets, single unit vehicles at 13 tons, 2 unit vehicles at 24 tons, and trains at 32 tons, be recommended for council approval. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Ron? And second, Mike? Any questions or discussion on that recommendation? Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, just a question for Dylan. I know you outlined it in your report, Dylan, but I wonder if you could talk about how this reduction is going to affect your maintenance program.
Yep, through your chair to Councilor Derrick. So I did put a paragraph in at the bottom and wanted to speak to it more because it is hard to word. There will be an effect to our general scope of service, being that 13-ton limits most of our fleet. Going forward, grading will have to be done by the road drag and or if I can potentially rent a small grader. However, we do have the road drag in-house, so that's not an issue. Gravel, all our maintenance for the summer essentially have to be done by 2 tons or by the backhoe. As well as winter maintenance is the biggest one, being we can no longer go over with a large tandem plow, so it will have to be completed by a 2-ton. Any additional plowing, for example, if there's bad snowbanks or anything like that, will have to be done with a grader or the backhoe. It's just going to be a little more planning. For example, if we have a culvert that blows out, for the most part, we're pretty safe in there. But if it were to happen, it's just going to be a little bit more labor intensive due to hauling gravel in by limited quantities. It's just going to take a little bit more time. It also is going to impact some emergency services for water trucks, the general public with construction equipment, stuff like that. But for the most part, it's not going to hinder us in a today issue, but it will be something that we're going to have to deal with and work through it.
Thank you, Dylan. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, just a couple more questions, if I may. So Dylan, what's the cost of replacing or rehabbing that structure moving forward?
Yep. So based on our 2024 OSIM reports, 2025, the structure itself is only being recommended as a full replacement. We have not pursued, obviously, either option indefinitely. However, that's posted at almost approximately $4 million as a replacement. That doesn't include engineering services or bypasses anything such as that, which we know will be an issue due to it being such a narrow structure. In the meantime, we're going to continue to maintain it as best as we can, keep it washed, yearly inspections on it, just to keep it as best shape as possible. Unfortunately, being a steel truss structure, it is very limited on what can be done to it to essentially approve it. It's just a matter of trying to keep it where it is.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion if I can.
Sure.
Oh,
Sorry?
sorry, you're right,
Oh, right,
you're right.
right. Sorry. Any further questions on that recommendation? All in favor? That's carried. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, my motion, I just want to make a motion to direct staff to send letters to the residents on the west side of the bridge outlining how the maintenance procedure is going to be changed, just so that they know it's going to save Dylan some grief, us some grief, because it is going to change, maybe not in terms of how quick or how well it's done, but it'll look different. And I think people need to know that moving forward, because this is going to be something that's going to get worse, in my opinion. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. It may not be within the,
Yeah, Ron, can you be specific about your motion? Like, you explained a lot of what you wanted, but your specific motion is to send letters to people on the west side of the bridge?
Just to show that.
And that's it, though, right? That's your motion?
Outlining the change in maintenance sheet.
Okay, so we need to get a seconder for that, Eric. Okay, go ahead if you want to speak to it, Ron.
No, I'm just making a comment that Dale and I have had conversations about this years, and now it's getting worse, and I think it's gonna keep getting worse, and it's gonna be a big problem for us, but.
Financially and otherwise. Go ahead, Dylan.
I just wanted to add further to Council Barry. So we will be posting all additional signage. There'll be new advanced signage at Centerline and Shannock Road, as well as a social media post, the hand-delivered letters. I most likely will do the entire road just to be safe, and then it's done. And then anything extra that we can think of, for sure.
Go ahead, Ron.
Just one more thing. You mentioned something that I didn't think of, water truck. So people that get water won't.
Yes, correct. So if it's anything for wells, anything like that, they'll have to maintain the tonnage.
Yeah.
But essentially, I was more looking at it for the fire department with their,
That too.
the
Yeah.
tanker truck. They'll have to get water on the other side.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm good.
that's it. Anything further? All in favor for that motion? That's carried. Committee and board reports. So we've got the Building Inspection Services Board minutes of June the 9th, 2025. And the Eastern Ontario Trails Alliance minutes of September the 11th, 2025. And the recommendation is that the foregoing minutes and reports of the committees and boards listed are hereby received for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Ron, second. Eric, any comments or questions on those minutes? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Correspondence for direction, Hastings County Council report from September 25th, 2025. And the recommendation is that council receive the report for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Ron and Eric, any comments or questions on the Hastings County Council report? All in favor? That's carried. Thanks, Rick. Building Inspection Services Board, September 2025 report. The recommendation that council receive the report for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Ron and Eric, any discussion on the BISD report? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. Next, Joyce Ayanu, Women in Wellness, Marmara. And it's regarding International Women's Week proclamation. And the recommendation is the council hereby declare that March the 1st to the 8th, 2026 is International Women's Week in Marmarin Lake. And I have a mover and a seconder. Eric? Second? Mike? Any comments? All in favor? That's carried. So I guess, Kristen, when it comes closer to the time, we'll do a proclamation. It seems a little bit far away right now to do it. People will forget. So if you could maybe make a note to put that before us, closer to the time. So next is bylaw number 2025-58, the bridge load limit bylaw. The recommendation is that bylaw 2025-58 being a bylaw for the restriction of the weight of vehicles passing over bridges in the municipality of Marmarin Lake be read and passed this 21st day of October 2025. I have a mover and a seconder. Eric and Ron? All in favor? That's carried. Notice of motion. Eric, do you want to proceed with that?
Sure. So the recommendation that I would like to put on the floor is that the Council of the Municipality of Marmarin Lake grant permission to the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 237, Marmara, to install a fallen soldier crosswalk in the downtown core on the existing unmarked crosswalk on Forsyth Street, as per the request brought to council on September 2nd, 2025. And that the date for road closures, material used, and any additional required signage and final image be reviewed and approved prior to installation by the manager of transportation services.
So Eric's moving that. Can I get a seconder for that? Ron? Any questions or comments on that motion? Being none, all in favor? That's carried. And I think that's a really good initiative. I think that's make our town look like we're caring about our veterans. Thank you. Announcements. Anyone have announcements to make? Go ahead, Eric.
Few events going on this Friday, October 24th at Marmara Public School. There's a Halloween themed fundraising bingo. Doors open at 6 and you're invited to attend and dress up. It's only $10 for 10 games and $5 for every additional 10 games. There are cash prizes for the winners. Sorry. This Saturday, October 25th, there's a free public skating event to officially welcome everyone back to the Dr. Hamilton Crawford Memorial Arena for 25-26 season. It's open to all ages. It's taking place from 5:30 to 8:30. The Marmara Crow Valley Lions are providing refreshments upstairs throughout the event. So I'd invite all members of the public to take advantage of that free skating day and come out and enjoy and celebrate the arena being back open. Also on Saturday, the Marmarin Lake Curling Club. If you've never tried curling or thinking about it and want to join, they have an open house from 1 till 4. You can visit their website, marmaracurlingclub.com. It's a free event if you want to go out and check it out and consider participating. I'd now like to share some images of the sign at the Marmaton Mine that Mayor O'Neill spoke about earlier. So first of all, this is just to show what the sign was before rehabilitation. It was extremely old and it had been defaced. The information was all inaccurate. So I'd really like to thank the members, past and present, of the Marmarin Lake Economic Development Advisory Committee. It was their concept that came to fruition, and thank you for the financial support from Community Futures. It wouldn't have happened without them. This sign redevelopment was a recommendation made to Municipal Council from this community member volunteer advisory committee. They identified the old, worn out and outdated sign as an economic development opportunity, given the traffic that stops at the mine site, and provided the opportunity to update the mine sign with information, more accurate information with all the new local businesses that we have, landmarks and facilities. Staff engaged a local designer, painter, and printer to complete the work. On the back side of the sign, it contains information about the mine, historical information, and the photos were sourced from the Marmara Historical Society archive. So thank you for providing those. Next time you're passing by, definitely stop and take a look at the new sign. Next Friday night is Halloween. I'd like to wish everyone a safe and fun Halloween. There's many events going on in Marmara Lake that you can participate in, including Trunk or Treat downtown by the Marmara Lions Club, the 3rd annual Zombie Walk in the Parquet by Crows Hollow and Annabella Stoic, eXp Realty, Light Up the Night by the Marmara Pentecostal Church at 53 Madoc Street, where you can warm up with a hot chocolate as well for parents. Haunted Hastings, which is 29 to 30 and 31 North Hastings Avenue. These events are all free. Many thanks to the community participants and volunteers that make them happen for everyone to enjoy. And that's it.
Thanks. Anyone else have any announcements? Go ahead, Mike.
I'd just like to say that I belong to Quinte Conservation Authority, and this past summer has been extremely hot and dry. They are on a level 3 low water warning, and that extends from Peterborough basically right through to the Quebec border. Every municipality in that area. Well, I'm assuming a lot of our residents are short water in their wells, or their wells are completely dry now. I know up here, several people are trucking water because their wells are dry right at the moment. This whole area has received less than 30% of the annual rainfall for July, August, September, and October is not looking all that much better. So we are in an extremely dry situation throughout this whole area. I'm extremely concerned about this area up through here because we are hit with that Derecho, and all those 90-degree plus days during the summer were hot and dry, all that dead woods laying in the woods drying out. And we have had virtually no rain on it for 3 months, 3.5 months. So please be careful out there. I don't understand why people have to have a bonfire every weekend to do hot dogs and marshmallows. This is my own comment now. But with the hazard we face up through here, I don't think anybody should have a fire, but that's just me. Anyways, that's part of it. The other thing, Quinte waste system or Quinte recycling will be done the end of December. Well, it's done now. The hazardous waste, the last one I do believe was last week for the mobile events. You can still take hazardous waste into Belleville at the main depot, and that depot will remain open for the foreseeable future with no intention of closing it. So if you do have any hazardous waste, you can still dispose of it in Belleville as a hazardous waste center down there. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I just had a couple of things. Crescent Care is celebrating their 50th anniversary of being in business here in Marmara on November the 7th at 1:30. I don't know if anybody would like to attend, but it's open. They've canceled it a couple of times because they've had outbreaks, and anyway, that's the date now that's presented. And I was just going to announce what Eric said about the free skate, and it's a kind of an opening for the Dr. Crawford Arena, but it's also an opportunity for Marmara Lake and the Lions Club to join in providing a nice family event for everyone working in collaboration. The only other thing was to invite people to come to all our Halloween events that Eric outlined them. So those were the things I wanted to talk about. Is there anybody else, anything further? Being none, there's the confirming bylaw, 2025-59, and the recommendation is that bylaw 2025-59, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council, held on the 21st day of October 2025 be read and passed this 21st day of October 2025. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Mike, second. Eric? Any comments, discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Need a motion to adjourn, Ron? Second? Mike? We're adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.